Okay, so we're going to talk about another super useful feature of your calculator, storing variables. So let's say, for example, you have some calculation that you're going to continue to use the same number over and over again or something like that, and you want a quick way of writing it. Or let's say you have some random number, like you do pi divided by 72, and you're going to get some crazy decimal. Let's see what it is actually. Okay, so you get this crazy number right here, 0.0436332313, and it actually continues on forever, but that's all our calculator will show us. Let's say you wanted to use that exact value, but you didn't want to type pi over 2 each time. You can store that value as a variable. Look at this button right down here, STO with the arrow, that is your store button. If you do some fancy calculation like this and then immediately press that store button, well, first off, it'll say ANS, and it'll put the arrow. The ANS is saying use the previous answer. That happens automatically if you enter an operation before typing a number. So like if you do the pi divided by 12 and you get 0.04 blah 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 and then hit times, it would do answer times. But since we're doing the store feature, it gives us that little arrow. And we want to store this to a variable. So if you look at most of those buttons there, most of them have a letter above them. Like the math button right there has an A above it. The apps has a B above it. Program has a C above it. Those are all placeholders essentially for values. So we could say take the answer and store it as A. And to do that, we'd have to hit alpha first to access those letters, and then we'd hit the math button, and it would print an A right there. And then if we hit enter, it will then print that value again, 0.0436332313, and you'll then notice if you hit alpha and math again, it'll print an A on the screen, and if you hit enter, it will print that value. You have stored that value to A, and you can do whatever you want with it. Now you can do alpha A times 9 divided by 72 billion. You can do whatever you want with A. It always has that value now. And so you can make precise calculations that way. And there's another super useful way or super useful time where you would want to store variables. So pretend like we have some graph here, and we need that intersection point. We need the x value of that intersection point. Well, you can find that as I showed you a moment ago. Go second calculate, and then option 5 is an intersect. And then once you find it, it will say x equals, and let's pretend like that value is 0.02357. And you want to store that value. So once it's calculated that intersection, I think it'll say intersection right there as well. Once you find the value of that intersection, it'll tell you x value, then it'll tell you the y value too. Let's just say it's 3. Once you have that there, as long as you don't move your cursor, if you quit out, so go second and then quit is the mode button right there. If you quit out, it will go to your home screen. And now that you're on your home screen, if you hit the X variable button to get an X up there, and then hit enter, it will print that value that you just had, that you just found for X. So it will print this 0.02357. So that value is stored in X. Now it will change if you go back into your graph and change the X value. But if you don't go back into your graph, you can take that X value, so hit your X variable, and you can store that to some other number. So you could store that to say alpha sine, and then that would store it to E, and you could hit enter, and it would now have that value stored to E, and then you can use it. So you can use values from your graph too, again, to make exact answers.